Hello everyone! Welcome back to the Duo Ace DET Prep 5 Days to Increase 5-Point series. Today, let's dive into the read and select question type. The rules for this type of question are quite simple. In 1 minute, choose the correct words from the 18 given options. Keep in mind it's a multiple choice question, and the number of correct words per question is not fixed. Missing or selecting the wrong words won't earn you full marks. The timer for the question starts automatically. Clicking your chosen word will turn it orange, and clicking again will cancel your selection. Clearly, this question assesses your vocabulary, so to prepare, how many words do you need to know? And which ones should you memorize? Here's the answer. If your target score is 115 or below, focus on memorizing C1 core vocabulary. If your target is 120 or above, you'll need to memorize C2 and Duolingo core high-frequency words. What are Duolingo core high-frequency words? After analyzing over 100 real questions, we found that while the 18 words rarely match exactly, some correct and incorrect words repeat. These repeating words are considered high frequency. Duo Ace has compiled a list of C1 core vocabulary and Duolingo high-scoring, high-frequency words. Feel free to message me for a free copy. For high-scoring individuals, some Duolingo words are challenging, even surpassing GRE difficulty. It's not necessary to memorize all these words thoroughly. After extensive question analysis, we've found 3 tricks that might help you quickly boost your score. Trick 1. Mastering prefix and suffix knowledge. 1. Variations of common prefixes. 2. Matching word forms of common suffixes with stems. 3. Distinguishing synonymous suffix combinations. And 4. Differentiating easily confused prefixes. Firstly, we need to understand that in the read and select question type, the generation of fake words is not only due to spelling errors in words of 4 to 8 letters, but also a considerable portion of words are pseudo-words created by incorrect combinations of prefixes, suffixes, and roots. Here, we need to grasp some common rules. Variations of common prefixes. For example, the prefix in. If in is before B, M, or P, it becomes im. Before L, it becomes il. Before R, it becomes ir. In other cases, it remains the original in. So, in an exam, if a word like in-regulate appears, and in hasn't changed to ir before R, it's definitely incorrect. Similarly, if words like impassionate, imbibe, immutable appear, they are certainly pseudo-words, because in should become im before M, B, or P. There are many similar cases, and Duo Ace has compiled a document of variant forms of common prefixes, which can be freely shared with everyone. Understand the part of speech pairing of common suffixes with stems. For example, we all know that an adjective plus "ly" forms an adverb. So, can a verb have "ly" added to it? The answer is no. So when we see prevently, we can easily determine that it is a pseudo-word. Now, let me ask you, can a noun have "ly" added? Actually, it can, but it is relatively rare. I classify this into 2 main categories, one referring to people and the other to time. First, nouns referring to people plus "ly. For example, brotherly, manly, friendly, scholarly, and ghostly. The second category includes nouns indicating time plus "ly. such as monthly, weekly, hourly, quarterly, and yearly. Other cases of nouns plus ly exist, but they are very rare and can be ignored. Therefore, if you encounter a noun that neither refers to a person nor indicates time, but has ly added, the likelihood of it being a pseudo-word is high. For example, strainly. Strain can only be used as a verb or a noun, and when strain is used as a noun, it doesn't represent a person or time. So, strainly must be a pseudo-word. Similarly, in insightly, insight is a noun that doesn't represent a person or time, so insightly is definitely a pseudo-word. Continuing with the ly suffix, let me ask you another question. Can the comparative form of an adjective take ly to become the comparative form of an adverb? The answer is also no. For example, the adverb form of happier is not happiерly, but more happily. Similarly, if you see a deeply hidden comparative form, like worsely for worse, which is the comparative form of bad, you would know that worsely is a pseudo-word. Next, let me provide you a few examples of pseudo-words that have appeared in real tests, and you can use this method to judge them. Tactment. Ment is a noun suffix, added only after verbs, not after nouns. Unwiseable. Able is an adjective suffix, added after verbs, and unwise is an adjective. Therefore, unwiseable is certainly a pseudo-word. Terminant. Ant is a suffix that can form adjectives or nouns, but it is always added after verbs. Termin is not a verb, nor is it a stem with a verb meaning, so terminant is a pseudo-word. Interminant. Ant is a suffix similar to ant, so we can use the same method to judge that interminant is a pseudo-word. Overwided. Ed is a suffix that, apart from being added to other verbs to indicate past participle, can also be added after nouns, for example, coloured or gifted. However, ed cannot be added after adjectives. Of course, overwide itself does not exist. We may not be able to recognise that overwide does not exist in the exam hall, but we can at least judge that it is an adjective form, and adding ed is definitely incorrect. Alternus. Nus is a noun suffix added only after adjectives, and alter is a verb. Therefore, alternus is definitely a pseudo-word. Similarly, DuoAce can also share a document on the rules of stem part-of-speech pairing for commonly used suffixes with everyone. Pay attention to distinguishing synonymous prefix pairing. This rule often appears in real tests, but we need to pay attention to it during our everyday vocabulary memorization. What does synonymous prefix pairing mean? Let me give you a few examples. The 4 prefixes in the figure all have the meaning of beyond, so they belong to synonymous prefixes. They can form the following words: overuse, supernatural, surplus, and metaphysical. However, if these synonymous prefixes are confused, such as overnatural or surphysical, it is, of course, a pseudo-word. How do we distinguish them? These prefixes belong to different etymologies. In theory, each prefix generally corresponds to stems from the same etymology. However, distinguishing which etymology a stem belongs to is a massive and meaningless task, so we will not handle the problem this way. Instead, we will only pay attention to distinguishing it when memorizing vocabulary. In addition, common synonymous prefixes include un, in, non, dis, a, less, indicating negation. For, pre, pro, anti, indicating before. These 4 prefixes can even form 4 synonymous words. Multi, poly, indicating many. Twi, bi, di, indicating double. And beni, you, indicating good. Distinguishing easily confused prefixes. Regarding the final point about prefixes, it is essential to distinguish easily confused prefixes. However, this skill is built on the foundation of having a general impression of the word. For example, pre and per. The former indicates before, while the latter, in most cases, indicates thoroughly. When we encounter perface and we understand its meaning as preface, but we can't remember which prefix is used, we can distinguish between the prefixes to determine that it should be pre instead of per. Concerning the 4 techniques about prefixes, we have analysed them up until this point. Next, we will discuss a common trap found in real questions, which is the tendency to double consonants where they shouldn't be doubled. Trick 2. Consonant doubling rules. Alright, let's talk about a smart trick when it comes to English spelling, specifically focusing on when to double consonants. There are 2 main scenarios to keep in mind. Firstly, it boils down to what we discussed earlier about prefixes and roots. It's about understanding the variations in common prefixes and roots. For example, look at director. If we break it down, it's dis and rector. Now dis before a word starting with R transforms to die. So the correct word is director, and director is a made-up word. On the flip side, corrector breaks down to cor and rector. Here, cor before R remains cor, hence corrector is a real word. In these cases, I recommend checking out a document I've compiled on these variations for better memorization and analysis. The second scenario involves verbs and their changes. When adding ing or ed to a verb, when do you double the final consonant? There are 2 conditions to meet. Firstly, the last syllable of the word must be stressed. Secondly, the final consonant in the word must be preceded by a short vowel sound. There's one exception. If a word ends in R and the structure is consonant, long vowel, consonant, then you double the final consonant. An example is prefer, becoming preferring. Remember, there are exceptions in British English spelling. But since the Duolingo exam focuses on American English, we won't worry about those. Lastly, beware of some tricky double consonant situations, like bosses. The mistake here isn't the initial double S, but the unnecessary double S at the end. Knowing that the plural form of nouns usually adds just one S makes spotting this error easy. Trick 3. 2 words forming a new word. Let's discuss the last technique, but keep in mind it's not foolproof. Let's call it a high success rate tip. This one revolves around words formed by combining 2 separate words. Pay attention to this requirement. It must be 2 standalone words combined, not a root or prefix with a single word. For example, necktie, neck plus tie. Silverware, silver plus ware. And someplace, some plus place. I've shared this trick in a previous article, and back then, all the examples I collected followed this pattern. However, I've noticed a few exceptions in recent exam questions, like airpoint or shark mark. Despite having 2 separate words, they turn out to be made-up words when combined. Keep in mind the Duolingo exam is an evolving test, and I can't guarantee this rule is absolute now. I can only say it still holds a high success rate. To sum up, 1. Be extra cautious with prefixes when judging real words or fake words. Familiarize yourself with prefix techniques to boost accuracy. 2. Understand the 2 scenarios for determining whether a consonant should be doubled. And 3. Words formed by combining 2 separate words are likely to be real. Feel free to direct message me to get the high-frequency word list mentioned in the previous video. It can significantly improve your accuracy. I'm Duo Ace, dedicated to sharing Duolingo exam techniques. We've introduced a Duolingo short-term score boost, a 5-day, 5-point improvement series. If you're looking to boost your Duolingo score quickly, follow us. In the next episode, we'll dive into sentence dictation questions. Until then, goodbye!